It's May the 10th, and this is your Pacific Palisades real estate market update. I'm James Respondek with Rodeo Realty, and I've sold hundreds of homes to generations of Palisadians. Here is this week's important market activity. There are presently 74 active listings. That's up 5 from last week, which was 69. Just sold in the Riviera, 681 Amalfi Drive, sold for $16,550,000. Now this was the Burt Baccarat property, and it was a big house, 9,380 square feet on a beautiful 21,000 square foot, almost like a double lot. And this property was beautifully maintained and very gracious, but it was a little bit dated. Just sold in the Riviera, 563 Spoleto Drive, sold for $18,300,000. It's a 7,700 square foot 2004 Thomas Proctor Mediterranean on a beautiful 21,000 square foot lot. I love the location of this property. I love the lot. And I like the classic lines, somewhat dated, and some of the rooms were a little not what they do today, like the master bath was a little bit small. Now, this started in January 23 for $23 million, and it finally sold, like I said, for 18.3. So pricing really is important if you want to get these properties sold in a timely fashion. Just sold in the Riviera. 1457 San Remo Drive, sold for $9.5 million. Now this was a 1953 traditional, 4,500 square feet, again on a beautiful 21K lot. Now what I liked about this house when I was in there is that the kitchen area was really cool, had really high ceilings, and it was very inviting, a great place to mingle in the house. But the rest of it was, older. The master was pretty gracious. Just sold in the Upper El Medio area, 15975 Alcima Avenue. Wow, this is a story. Huge house, 11,700 square feet on a 33K lot. Now, the floor plan on this was a little bit awkward, and the placement of it was not perfect because it was kind of an uphill sloping lot. This started in 22 for $26 million, and then it was kind of, mismanaged or a little bit here and there, and it finally ended up in the hands of the lender, and then it finally sold for $14.5 million. So, oops, my condolences to the investors. Just sold in the Alphabet Streets, or adjacent, I should say, 1047 Chautauqua. This was a pretty large 6,550 square foot brand spanking new modern farmhouse on a 7,100 foot lot. So they really cram them in there. That's because they have huge basements. So it's a 2023 Shelter Homes built modern farmhouse. It felt kind of predictable when you walk in, all these like new spec houses. They have a lot of goodies in them, and they have some nice finishes, but I don't know, they just feel predictable. Just sold in the Alphabet Streets, 15921 Best Store for $7.5 million. A 6,600 square foot house on a 7,600 square foot lot. 2014 Lantana Development built Cape Cod. Now, what I like about this, it felt really substantial inside, and I liked the details and the quality. Albeit, the floor plan's a little bit more classic in that long ago era. Isn't that long ago? Just sold in the Huntington Palisades, 501 Ocampo Drives, 8,700 square foot corner lot, most probably a tear down. I was surprised actually when I went in there. I was thinking, well, how many offers are you going to have? Anyway, it was listed at $5,350 and it sold for $4,990. So I kind of expected it to go at or over the ask, but somebody got a nice deal. Just sold in the Upper El Medio area at 837 Muskingum for $3,610,000. Now this sold $360K over the ask. It was like a tear down, so we never really even got inside the house. Didn't matter, because this lot is 18,500 square feet. It slightly slopes uphill, but not too radically. It's got a little bit of exposure to sunset, but pretty good deal for that size lot. Just sold on Bienvenida, 864 Bienvenida Avenue for $2,850,000. It's on the corner of Bienvenida and Las Pulgas. I remember as I walked in, this house felt really light and bright. The backyard had a pool, but that was pretty much took up the whole backyard. It was a little bit dated, but I felt it had a really nice feel. So, just sold in Castellamar, 17728 Porto Marina Way. This sold for $2,850,000. It's a 1953 built post and beam, and it had some nice high ceilings, very dated, sits right on top of the highway, so kind of noisy, no real flat land, but killer views of the ocean. Back to some just listeds. Just listed in the Marquez Knolls, 16620 Linda Terrace for $11 million. Now this, as I was driving down the street, I was thinking, this is a tall poppy in this field. It's a big house. It's 8,000 square feet, and the lot is quite large. The lot is 11,500 square feet. And it has great views. I love the lower floor of this house because it flowed straight out to the pool and was very private down there. Now the upper sections didn't feel as private because you really felt your neighbors around there. So, you know, it has some pluses and some minuses, and like I said, it's the tall poppy in that field. However, the poppies are growing pretty good in the Palisades these days, so expect them all to be pretty tall. Just listed in the Alphabets, 1180 Fisk Street for $7 million. Oh, this house is a classic, built in 1925, 4,365 square feet on a whopping 9,200 square foot lot. Now that is like a lot and a half in that area. When I walked inside this house, I love the classic lines. It's a real family house, has a pool, kind of cool. And then on the wall, I saw a picture with this house on it in 1925, and there were only a handful of houses around it and not a tree to be seen for miles. It was kind of eerie. Just listed in the Highlands, 1204 Piedra Morada. I should say back by popular demand because it was on the market last year, but it's back. And I like this value. It's 5,100 square feet. So that's coming in at just over $750 a foot. Now it is a 1989 traditional, so it's certainly not style du jour, but you have lots in the budget there to make this house really spectacular. So even if you spent $1 million on it, you'd be under $1,000 a foot. So like I said, I like that value. Just listed in El Medio Bluffs, 713 Wildemar. Wow. Here's another one, 1930 storybook house. And this property has items and objets and collections from all around. And it's just, I mean, it is so, the floor plan is really unique. And it's got so many different items in it from every era you can imagine. So it's extremely interesting. I'm not exactly sure how it would live. But it's 8,600 square foot lot, so really it's lot value at $3.3 million. Just listed in the El Medio Bluffs, 15936 Northfield for $3.7 million. This is an 8,200 square foot lot, so it's a huge corner lot. And it's got RTI plans ready to build a 7,800 square foot Richard Blumenberg designed house. So somebody could end up with something pretty spectacular here. Just listed in Sunset Mesa, 18329 Clifftop Way for $3,250,000. It's a 2564 square foot house. Now that's the largest square footage plan that they have in the Mesa. It's a 1965 Mediterranean style, and it has been updated in a kind of eclectic way, almost like an ode to Topanga Canyon and Topanga that it looks back onto. The views out the back are really beautiful. Just listed in Sunset Mesa, 18431 Kingsport Drive for $3,750,000. This house is filled with all kinds of detail and stuff, and it makes you feel like you're in Europe. And the backyard is very quaint and charming. It has views too. I liked it because it's not your standard fare that you always see. So I always am drawn to the things that are a little different. Just listed above the village, 1310 Goucher Street for $2,850,000. It's had some updates. It's got beautiful views. You know, the lot's large, but it's not all that flat. In fact, the flat is up on the second level. And this is 1,700 square feet, but not a bad value. I hope this information has been helpful to you. If you're thinking of finding your perfect property, I look at more property than just about anybody in the Palisades. Or if you're thinking of selling, it's springtime and things are selling and it's a great time to put your house on the market, call me. I'd love to help. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.